Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. We're having another storage unit auction story today, so please grab some snacks, drinks, stay comfortably or keep doing what you're doing. We're getting started. Traverse City, Michigan is not a place where fishing is treated as a casual weekend distraction to pass the time. The local culture is entirely built around the seasonal migrations of salmon, lake trout, and massive walleye hiding in the dark water. For 51-year-old Greg, a structural design engineer with a fiercely pragmatic mind, the lake was his absolute undeniable sanctuary from the corporate grind. His wife Maria managed a chaotic downtown dental clinic, navigating a relentless storm of scheduling conflicts and insurance paperwork 5 days a week. With their children finally out of the house and enrolled in out-of-state colleges, the couple had entered a quiet, highly stable phase of adulthood. They weren't drowning in credit card debts, they didn't have loan sharks knocking on their front door, and their mortgage was perfectly manageable. They were simply an average, hardworking American couple looking for a way to break up the predictable monotony of their empty nest routine. The couple were not professional storage liquidators, and they certainly didn't care about building a massive following on social media to document their lives. Over the past few cold, snowy months, they had simply fallen into the evening habit of watching raw, unedited storage auction videos on their living room television. They were completely fascinated by gritty, unfiltered reality of watching ordinary people unlock abandoned commercial spaces filled with forgotten history. There was no cinematic lighting, nor artificial HDR filters, and no dramatic background music. It was just the raw truth of what people leave behind in the dark. One Friday evening, while listening to the wind howl of the bay, Maria turned to her husband with a completely spontaneous, entirely uncharacteristic idea. She suggested they take $400 out of their budget and treat a local commercial storage auction like a unique, unpredictable date night. They would buy a completely blind unit, cut the lock, throw the garbage into a municipal dumpster, donate any decent furniture, and just enjoy the chaotic process together. Greg laughed at the sheer absurdity of the idea, but he immediately opened his laptop and started scrolling through the regional facility liquidation portals. He eventually stumbled across Lot 88, located at a massive, heavily secured concrete storage compound on the industrial outskirts of the county line. The facility manager had uploaded a single incredibly blurry, low-resolution photograph taken from the dark threshold. The picture showed absolutely no useful details, no visible cardboard boxes, and no recognizable shapes that could hint at the unit's actual contents. Following his gut and relying on the absolute lack of competition, Greg placed a minimum proxy bid of exactly $400, fully expecting to be outbid. He woke up on Saturday morning to an automated impersonal email confirming that the digital hammer had fallen and he had won the lot without a single opposing bid. The next morning, the couple drove their SUV to the facility. They parked directly in front of the corrugated metal door of Unit 88, genuinely expecting to spend their entire Saturday hauling rotten couches to the local landfill. Maria held two steaming cups of black coffee while Greg pulled a pair of heavy 36-inch steel bolt cutters from the trunk of their vehicle. He locked the heavy steel jaws around the facility's brass padlock, leaned his body weight into the handles, and snapped the shackle with a loud, sharp crack. If you were holding a cell phone camera to capture this exact moment, the raw white shot would show absolutely nothing but a towering mountain of gray canvas. There were no plastic storage dots, no stacked moving boxes, and no visible pieces of household furniture leaning against the concrete walls. Greg stepped over the metal threshold, his boots crunching on the dusty floor, and grabbed the thick, reinforced edge of the massive industrial tarp. The massive tarp slid off the hidden structure with a heavy whoosh, and a thick cloud of a stagnant warehouse dust instantly filled the cold morning air. Maria instantly burst into a fit of shocked, uncontrollable laughter, the sound echoing wildly down the long, empty corridor of the storage compound. Resting perfectly balanced on a heavy-duty dual-axle steel transport trailer was an absolutely immaculate, professional-grade Tracker Targa aluminum fishing boat. It was rigged with a massive high-performance Mercury Pro XS outboard motor, looking like it had just been rolled off a luxury marine showroom floor. This was not a cheap recreational pontoon boat meant for slow Sunday cruises, it was an elite tactical vessel specifically engineered to cut through aggressive 6-foot swells. The boat featured dual electronic live wells and a heavily reinforced casting deck, and a custom-stitched weather-resistant captain's chair that looked completely brand new. This was not a random collection of cheap fiber glass rods inherited from an amateur grandfather who occasionally fished for bluegill on the weekends. It was the ultimate uncompromising arsenal of a modern, incredibly wealthy sportsman who demanded absolute perfection from every single piece of his equipment. They were ultralight, highly sensitive carbon fiber setups designed specifically for river tourt and standing right next to massive heavy-duty saltwater trolling poles built like steel cables. The absolute strangest, most unnerving part of this entire massive discovery was the complete and total absence of any personal identifying documentation. Greg and Maria spent an hour frantically searching the boat's locking glove box and waterproof pelican cases and the deep compartments of the tackle boxes. They found absolutely nothing. There were no state registration papers, no faded insurance policies, no forgotten driver's license, and no logbooks. There was no single name painted on the pristine aluminum hull of the boat, and the license plate holder on the heavy steel trailer was completely empty. This mysterious elite millionaire fisherman had simply vanished into the air, and leaving no trace of his existence other than the tools of his absolute passion. He had abandoned tens of thousands of dollars of premium, highly regulated marine equipment to a quiet administrative default auction without a single fight. A typical seasoned storage unit flipper would have instantly pulled out a smartphone, opened an Excel spreadsheet, and started calculating the massive life-changing profit margins. They would have aggressively priced out every single Japanese reel, listed the aluminum boat on the national broker side, and celebrated their massive financial windfall on camera. Maria, still slightly in shock from the sheer scale of the discovery, pulled a small yellow legal notepad and a pen from her leather purse. She intended to start meticulously cataloging the high-end gear, writing down the specific model numbers of the electronics for an eventual high-profitable online sale. Greg fundamentally understood on a deep, almost spiritual level that he was standing inside the accumulated life's work of a man who loved the water just as much as he did. This wasn't just a pile of expensive sporting goods, it was a highly curated, intensely personal collection built over decades of trial, error, and raw passion. To break up this incredible, flawless arsenal and sell it off piece by piece to random strangers on the internet felt like an absolute, undeniable sacrilege. The universe, through a completely random, incredibly lucky $400 date night, had literally handed him the ultimate dream he had always practically denied himself. He refused to betray the ghost of the man who had built this collection, deciding right there on the concrete floor to honor the equipment by actually using it. The sudden massive influx of elite equipment completely transforms Greg's daily reality, elevating him from a casual weekend warrior to a completely different tier of offshore angler. Every single weekend, without fail, Greg backs the tracker targa down the steep, slick concrete of the local municipal boat ramp as the sun rises. He heads out into the deep, turbulent, freezing waters of Lake Michigan, surrounded by the absolute best marine technology money can physically buy. When the local charter captains and veteran lifelong fishermen see him effortlessly handling the massive St. Croix rods and the frictionless Shimano reels, they are left completely speechless. He doesn't brag about his net worth to the guys on the docks, and he certainly didn't drain his family's retirement accounts to fund his absolute obsession. He is widely known as the guy who threw down $400 on a blind, blurry photograph of a dirty tarp that everyone else aggressively walked away from. He bought a stranger's forgotten, abandoned dream for absolute pennies, refused to cash it in for a quick payday, and decided to relentlessly leave it out for himself. It is the ultimate proof that sometimes the greatest treasures hidden behind the corrugated metal doors aren't meant to be sold. They are meant to be inherited by someone who finally knows their true worth. That's it. That's the story. I was not expecting that these people will find something like that, and I was not expecting that they will leave it for them. But now that I'm thinking of it, it might be really a good idea, especially if you know how to manage all those boats and all those electronics and, you know, mechanisms, and you have time to do it. So I think it's a really very nice blind gamble that they have. Yeah, so please leave a comments, drop some sentences. What do you think about the story? And if you like it, please give me some thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see each other the next time. Bye.